A Talmudic parable. God said to the angel Gabriel, "Go and mark the foreheads of the righteous, so that the angels of destruction will not have dominion over them. And mark the foreheads of the wicked, so that the angels of destruction will have dominion over them." The attribute of justice spoke up and said, "Before God, ruler of the universe, how are the righteous different from the wicked? It was in the hands of the righteous to protest the conduct of the wicked, and they did not protest." God replied, "My omniscience tells me that even had they protested the conduct of the wicked would have continued in their ways." The attribute of justice said before God, "You may know that their reprimand would have been ineffective, but do the righteous know this?" God retracted the promise to protect the righteous and decided that those who failed to protest would also be punished. What does it mean to be righteous? How do we in our world make sure that even in the face of overwhelming wickedness, we maintain our moral standards? Shall you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Abraham, in this week's Torah portion, asked God this pointed question as he begins his attempt to save the inhabitants of Sodom. God, prior to revealing to Abraham the plan to destroy the city and all of its denizens, has a moment of self-reflection, contemplating, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do, since Abraham is to become a great nation and all the nations of the earth are to be blessed by them? For I have known him. He instructs his children and his posterity to keep the way of Adonai by doing what is just and righteous, in order that I may bring about for him what has been promised." As Emma shared with us just a few minutes ago, Abraham sees a flaw in God's plan and bargains God down, getting God to agree to only destroy the city if no fewer than 10 righteous people were found there. But we learn later there were only 4 righteous people: Abraham's nephew Lot, his wife, and his daughters. How did God know they were righteous? And what did that mean for them? The medieval sage Ramban shares an elucidating theological answer, commenting on this portion. "The knowledge of God," he wrote, "is God's will exercised over our world, preserving the species as they are, but leaving individuals, even human beings, subject to the random occurrences of life. But for those who are loyal to God, God knows the particulars about them. God's protection is therefore connected to them permanently. Knowledge and awareness of them is never absent." That is to say that there are the masses and then there are the righteous who attain a special connection with God. We see this to be true in the way that God speaks about Abraham in this portion, saying that God knows him and that Abraham will spread righteousness to his posterity. This includes Abraham's nephew Lot, who God also saves in this week's portion. What do both of them do to earn this status? Both of them rebuke wickedness. Abraham to God, and Lot to the people of Sodom. At great risk to themselves, both decide they must stand up for what is right in the face of danger. Abraham, knowing God, could just strike him down. Lot, knowing the townspeople of Sodom, could easily overcome him. And in this, they were both protected, even if in the end they did not influence the overarching outcome. The wicked were swept away in a violent burst of fire and brimstone. Another parable from the Talmud. When the rabbis were discussing how to determine tzedek, righteous behavior, they wrote, "If there is one boat that is close to its destination and one boat that is far from its destination, the needs of the one that is close should be overridden by the needs of the one that is far. If both of them were close or both of them were far, impose a compromise between them, and the owners of the boats pay a fee to one another for any loss incurred." This is to say, we must understand ourselves in relation to others and our responsibility in relation to our standing. I believe in truth that every person in the world is primarily seeking to meet their basic needs and to find comfort in their daily lives. Some of us are closer to that, and some of us are further away. And yet the material circumstances we exist in are undeniable. For those of us who are materially experiencing our needs being met and a modicum of comfort, our boat is significantly closer to the destination than those who are not, even if we fear we may lose what we have. The fear is real, but it is not tangible. Material circumstance is real and tangible. We must discern between the two. We must strive to see physically which boat is closer and which boat is further away from its destination. We in our world today must speak up to remedy the material inequity that we see, even if doing so may feel, in the abstract, like it has a chance of affecting us negatively in the future. There are groups of people in our world, in our country, in our city, in our neighborhood, whose boats are still quite far from their destination. And in order to be righteous individuals, to build our relationship with God, to not be swept away with the wicked, we must use our words, our voice, and our power to solve this inequity. As Emma stated before, fairness is incumbent upon us to discern and decide. We must not allow our own fears of possible futures, of possibly losing our standing, of possibly losing our wealth, possibly losing our sense of safety, to deter our mitzvah to pursue righteousness. This is true when it comes to our own government, which in many cases this past week narrowly avoided being granted to politicians that have publicly chosen to do harm to those in need. And this is true of the new coalition in Israel, which has indeed recently been voted in despite many of its members' past enacted harm. These are scary topics to broach. They are weighted with great fear, as each of us exist in this world that appears to be teetering on the brink towards the wicked. Each of us are afraid for what's going to happen to us. And yet, as our first parable tells us, as Abraham and Lot display for us, we must continue to speak, even if the outcome may not be what we want. That is the path to righteousness. That is the path to God. That is the path to flourishing. Let us commit here today to not allowing fear to bar us from saying and doing what we know is right. Let us each commit here today to be the descendants of Abraham our Torah portion calls us to be. And let each of us be one of the righteous of the world. And in that righteousness, may we flourish like a palm tree and grow like a cedar of Lebanon. Shabbat shalom.